Actually, Sonic 4 is bad, and you should feel bad for liking it.
What's up everyone? I got hyper fixated on Sonic 4 for a few days, even getting those damn achievements so I could tell anyone, yeah, I have bad taste in video games. Because boy oh boy, I actually like this game. I know, the Sonic fanbase is in shock.
Who the fuck is this guy?
A hypothetical says, but don't worry, I can explain. Back when I was a little toddler, surviving in the woods with my grandma, one of the few comforts I had was a good old iPad. The iPad in question had Sonic 4 Episode 1, one of my favorite games from back when I was a little toddler. I beat it, got the emeralds, and had a weird thing for replaying the special stages. One fateful day, my cousin took my iPad for her important business trip and it got stolen. So yeah, I've got a sense of nostalgia for this game. I'm familiar enough to say that the game is actually good and that you just suck. What? SA2 fans did it and it worked for them.
And concerning people who don't say the adventure games are good, with seeing some people talk about them on the internet, some of the reasons they come up with as evidence that these games aren't good baffle me. Like, their tolerance for challenge, failure, or even legitimate issues drops dramatically when playing SA1 and 2.
Talking about the actual game now, let's go to the graphics. They're ass. It's a mix of assets of varying quality. The best looking thing in this game is Sonic, and even he's got some issues, like the god awful cell shader they use on him that makes him look like a super shiny plastic toy. Eggman's got similar problems, his mechs look like something you would get in a Happy Meal, and his model has lower polish than good old Morris over here. The polish problem is especially noticeable around the enemies, which look like N64 model for fuck's sake. Look at poor old Motobag over here. Compare the art from the classic games to this atrocity.
Look at you, you who were once so proud. Go now and never return.
At first I didn't even think the enemies were cel shaded properly, but looking through my footage I noticed they are, but I guess they weren't shaded enough because they stand out from the environment the most. That's a general problem with all the character models, but especially for the enemies. Another problem is the environments themselves. The backgrounds and the objects like rings and monitors, they're all just fucking PNGs instead of fully modeled and rendered 3D environments and objects. In a DS game like Sonic Rush, you wouldn't notice these things because the screen would do its visual trickery and smooth out the image so it all looks fitting. But this is a fucking HD game released on every major system of the era, something you look at in modern TV displays and it looks like it was made by Scott Cawthon. The most baffling thing about the graphics is that the WiiWare and mobile versions are the best looking. Character models are better shaded in a way that you could almost convince me that they belong to the environment. Eggman looks way nicer using darker colors, and Sonic's look in the mobile version is the best of them all. I'd argue the Wii version is the most fitting Sonic, but the mobile version wins overall for having the highest quality, even at the cost of shading. An interesting thing to note is that Super Sonic looks all gold and fiery in the WiiWare version, which I really dig. All the music and sound effects were composed and made by Jun Senue of Sonic Adventure fame, who was asked by series director Takashi Iizuka to make them sound like they come from the Genesis games. This resulted in the soundtrack we had today, which, while not bad compositionally, is actually great. It's subject of controversy thanks to the synthesizer being used, which has these meow sounds everyone jokes about. It can be ear-grating to be honest, but that is only an issue around Splash Hill. That is what the YouTubers don't tell you, the rest of the track sounds pretty good. Casino Street is chirpy and jazzy, Lost Labyrinth really brings the temple aesthetic to life with the flute and bongos, using the more electronic sounds to enhance its atmosphere. And Mad Gear is just wow. It's the heaviest use of synthesizers yet, but it all adds to the mechanic nightmare that the song is supposed to be. The synth sounds good and the melody is just take a listen. and then the game gives us more meowing sounds to remind us we're playing Sonic 4. Also, shoutouts to the special stage theme, it sounds like a lullaby. I don't have a good segue to gameplay, so let's take a quick moment to talk about our sponsor.
In terms of
Sponsor!
we have no
Sponsor!
Give me your lunch money!
We all know Sonic 4 isn't an exact replica of the classic gameplay we all know and love, but is it at least a good enough replica? No, Sonic takes longer to accelerate and his jump is floatier, making the base controls feel stiff. Rolling and spin dashing, which are some of Sonic's most important characteristics, are worthless in this game. You don't pick up and release speed when rolling down a hill, and the spin dash doesn't give much speed either. If you want to accelerate quickly, spam the air dash until you reach top speed, or do like me and just spin dash and then air dash. If you want to go up a hill, spin dashing may help, but the best method is just running or using a dash pad. I also have a weird feeling that the ground speed is capped, because you'll never have any of those classic Sonic moments where you let loose on a big set piece and watch him fly through the screen. This lack of, say it with me folks, momentum is also why people complain so much about the level design being repetitive and mediocre. Sonic barely gains speed by himself, so the game has to put dash panels and springs everywhere to pretend that he can go up ledges or pick up speed when going downhill. His air movement when launching off ledges is terrible as well. If you spin dash jump off a slope, he will carry speed and get a comical amount of airtime, but not from launching off a ledge. He'll just hold in midair and uncurve from a ball so you can use the fucking homing attack. You know that section in Green Hill Act 1 with the tools and the big launch at the end? Iconic, right? Super great. This is his equivalent in Sonic 4. You don't carry speed in the air, so to get the shortcut, you have to use the homing attack on these enemies. And the homing attack chain gets used and repeated in every fucking level. It's ridiculous! Not to mention slow because of the rebound animation. All these control problems arise because this game uses the framework of Sonic Rush. And we all know those games don't have super accurate physics either. But the focus of those games were not the physics, but the boost mechanic. Take the boost mechanic away, make Sonic a bit stiffer, and don't tweak the physics in any way that's Sonic 4. And that's a damn shame, because the level design is mostly decent and the best part of this game. Now, I was going to give more credit to the level design, but upon further inspection I realized they have plenty of bullshit enemy placement, split second reaction moments that you'll never do in time, and even some throw moments that force you to memorize the level design just to get the thing. It's very cheap. On the other hand, I know how to avoid the bullshit most of the time, and found enjoyment in time attacking the stages. Splash Hill is pretty basic, so the levels take around a minute to beat if you're quick enough, making for a good warm up to the game. They're not offensive, at least. Casino Street's first act is super short as well, but with some added complexity thanks to the blatantly reused Casino Night gimmicks. It also has an oddly satisfying end section where all the paths converge in a straight drop down to the finish line. Act 2 is a bit of a nothing burger because the main gimmick is collecting cards to get rings and extra lives, so the level design around it ends up being pretty basic, and when it starts to pick up with the rotating cards, the level is over. There is also this weird one-off section right before the end that is worthless and stands out in an otherwise focused stage. Quality picks up again with Act 3 introducing these cannons that you manually have to aim with rings pointing at the right direction. There are some moments where you can take advantage of the manual aim to go in a not so obvious direction and make yourself a shortcut, and I wish the level created more opportunities for that. I also like the sections where you can aim anywhere to get different routes or just some extra ring boxes. It's rewarding exploration. This shortcut through the wall is really cool as well. It takes you to a brand new section of the level with a tricky mini challenge with the cannons before putting you back off the main path. Lost Labyrinth is a pick that absolutely no one wanted, same with Mad Gear, but we'll talk about that later. But not gonna lie, this is when the game really peaks with its ideas. It's no secret that Sonic 4 is creatively bankrupt, recycling level themes, bosses, special stages, hell, it even recycles itself with that god-awful boss rush. But with Lost Labyrinth, I see ideas that could be implemented in a Sonic Mania style reimagining. Dodging, running away and balancing Sonic on boulders, using a torch to solve puzzles and fire up explosives, getting on that Donkey Kong Country timing and putting Sonic on a minecart for a bit. I can see this working out fantastically, and what we got shows a bit of that potential while never truly delivering. The boulders only appear on Act 1 and are by far the best mechanic. Act 2 feels clunky to play with the darkness gimmick, claustrophobic design and dim blind sides, and if you take the good pass you miss out on baby puzzles that could have been expanded upon. The minecart only appears 2 times in the level for the most basic sections and never again. Why is it even here? At least the mobile version gave it a full on stage, but that one stinks, so I actually prefer it just showing up randomly. The explosives take too long to explode and it just feels awkward to have the same low path, high path level design in a context where you have to wait for things to happen. Act 3 is the water level of the game and it is good enough, so it has some more of those trademark Tim's fuck you moments and a baffling shortcut through a wall that just skips content instead of having its own mini challenge like in Casino Street. I do like how the water sections are mostly skippable, the callbacks to Labyrinth level design, and that little chase section in the middle like it's Hydro City. But now it can't help but feel like a disappointment knowing there could be a better version of this. Also shoutouts to this weird mechanic that appears twice in the level and never again. I know they really wanted to shoehorn the gyro controls because this was meant to be a mobile game, but you could have done a better job at it, you know. Finally, there's Mad Gear Zone. Act 1 is an introduction to the general gimmicks with a focus on these steam pipes and crushers that must be navigated around with proper timing. The enemy placement is not that bad either, though some shortcuts are still kinda trolly. Act 2 focuses on these cogs, and this is by far the worst level in the game. I've already complained about Sonic's lack of acceleration, but that issue is brought to light in this stage when you're tasked to run on these cogs to progress. They don't even let you spin dash to make this a little bit faster, you have to walk. This section is especially frustrating. If you get hit by the stars or the mantis robots right here, you lose the shortcut and it's very easy to get hit because when you get to the door right here, the enemies are already on attack mode. It's a mess. Act 3 picks up in quality again with my favorite stage of them all, the peak of Sonic 4 Episode 1. Impending Doom. This is the toughest, most action-packed stage in the game. There's a big spike wall chasing you all the stage and you have to run away from it. All the gimmicks you've seen before in Mad Gear make a return for the grand finale, and a new one gets introduced right in the middle to throw you off. You have to rotate these little things properly for Sonic to progress, or else he falls into spikes. They move a bit slow, but they never feel slow because of the quick pacing, the tension, and variety of the stage. The level is mostly linear platforming gauntlets, but there is still some light exploration and shortcuts to take if you're so inclined. And the dim's bullshit is at a no time minimum, with only 4 spots that I've noticed. Clocking around 2 or 3 minutes to beat, Sonic 4 ends with a simple, focused, brilliant little stage that brings its potential to life, or at least some of it. That is if it was the final stage. The final stage, X Station, is a lame boss rush. Talking about the bosses, they are the same fights of old, but when they reach low health, they enter a little pinch phase with new moves. Splash Hill and Casino Street's bosses are comically easy. The Lost Labyrinth fight has a tedious second phase where you jump on these pillars to reach Eggy. Not even beating it quickly is satisfying because it depends on RNG and timing your hits to Eggman's infinite iframes which are not communicated properly. I guess the Mad Gear boss is fine. At first it's a take on the Metropolis boss fight before turning into an Outrunner fight. My favorite boss ended up being the Death Egg robot for some twisted reason. When you hit it enough times, the robot goes crazy mode, gets electricity all around it, and starts jumping around like it's Super Mario. The only way to hit it is shooting its arms back into it. To start, its theme song is the national cat anthem. Hitting enough times and Eggman launches a final attack that if you're not ready to counter, it will kill you, and you'll have to start the 3-minute fight all over again. That happened to me on stream and I had to reconsider my life choices. Oh, I had to jump. Whoops. Oh, okay. I need a moment. I wasn't ready for that. With the robot beat, Sonic runs for his life before soullessly walking, and then running for his life. That run animation is ass! Isn't it weird that to get the supersonic ending you have to jump and get all the rings in what's supposed to be a cutscene? I'm not doing that. I had enough! Oh yeah, the special stages. They are good. It's a take on the Sonic 1 special stage, but instead of you moving Sonic in a rotating maze, you move the maze in a rotating Sonic. I don't need to rephrase that. This means you get more control of your movement and can predict where Sonic will go much more accurately than its chaotic 16-bit counterpart. More things are added, like a time limit that can be extended by collecting these bubbles, as well as ring gates to spice up the level design a bit. Level design is not bad either, they are fairly challenging and not that frustrating. You can even retry them at any point. I especially like the 7th one. It's a big open area with 4 sub-areas hosting rings and time bubbles. You can go to each sub-area in any order and your goal is to collect 99 rings to get to the emerald before time runs out. It was decently fun. Your reward for getting all the emeralds is the golden boy himself, Super Sonic. And this was actually a big deal at the time because this was his first non-final boss appearance in a 2D game that is not from 1994. He's shiny, super fast, jumps super high, and just good old cheeky fun. He might even be more fun to play as than regular Sonic because you can just cheese through some of the more egregious sections without a care, speed up stuff like the cogs or the darkness level and make up for your mistakes. I think Dims also knew this because he's allowed on the leaderboards for both time and score attack. In score attack he duplicates the score you get from enemies as well, so make that as you wish. In conclusion, Sonic 4 Episode 1 is still kinda mediocre. The graphics and gameplay are ass, the music, while brilliant, is not for everyone thanks to the synthesizer, and the level design, while showing some promising layout, still has issues like enemy placement or player reaction that sour the game's taste on the first playthrough. Even when the game picks up, it is still uninspired, short of its potential, and just not as good as other 2D Sonic games. And that's part of what made it so disappointing back in the 2010s. This game would be fine as a cheap mobile phone game, which is what it was meant to be. But I guess Sega saw the retro nostalgia boom of the era, said, "I want a piece of that pie!" and marketed the game as Sonic the Hedgehog 4, which backfired horribly.
If this is really Sonic fucking 4, why do I have to wait 3 games to be able to play as Knuckles again? If this is really Sonic fucking 4, why are we regressing in features?
Fans hate this game, and no one cared when episode 2 came out. I didn't talk about this earlier because I wanted to focus on the game on its own merits, but this fuck up cannot be understated. It made the brand lose its credibility. As the sequel to the beloved classics, this game ain't it. As a game on its own, it's a nothing burger. I like it, but I'm not playing it again anytime soon. And that's Sonic Fart Poopysode come. If you like this video, please give me a like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your fellow Sonic artists. I also have a Discord server, Lario Party, hosted by yours truly. It's still growing, but we have some fun people to talk to, as well as thread channels if you want to share your projects. If you have any problems or ideas to make this place better, we're open to suggestions as well, so check it out if you're interested. As for me, I'm outta here.